What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to episode 143 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And new subscribers, don't forget to hit notifications on so you get notified when my new videos drop. And of course, be sure to check out the Discord. I'll have a link in the description below. Right now I'm doing a poll on my next ship build, so if you want to get involved with that, be sure to check out the Discord. We've got a kind of a long one today, about 27 minutes, so let's go ahead and just jump right into this. Kick back, relax, and let's get right into it. So we're going to be picking up again with our cargo room, and now we're going to be working on the floor for the entryway point. Because again, I want to make this nice and clean. For those of you that want to be able to have this opened. For those of you that don't plan on having this open, you don't have to add this area in. Even though I'm going to have my doorway closed, I wanted to have this here just in case I wanted to open it up. And we won't just be working on engineering, on the cargo room today. We'll be doing the flooring for here, and then I think we're going to be hopping into working on the mall a little bit more today. We haven't worked on that in a while. We're not going to get a lot of work done on it, just a little bit. And then we're also going to be going into the exterior of the upper portion of the saucer section. We're going to be slightly adjusting that to make the bridge look a little bit smaller than it currently is, because remember, we had to make that area a little bit bigger, and now the proportion of the ship is slightly off because the bridge looks a little bit too big. And I've got a very clever way of showing you guys how to fix that. And it'll just basically be coming down to adding in a couple more layers on the area surrounding it. But we'll get into that a little bit later on. So now that we've got our gray flooring in place, again, we're going to be carrying over characteristics from our other rooms. So a good way to give us this inspiration, work has already been done. We can see that we have our yellow outline for the shuttle bays, and they've been numbered. So I feel that we can do the same thing here with the cargo room. Maybe we'll do like a blue strip on the first row, and then we'll come back with yellow just to see how it looks. If it doesn't look good, if it's too much, then we'll just do the yellow. It doesn't look bad. Looks good enough that I feel confident enough to do the same thing on the other side. Yeah, see, we're going to have a little bit of a problem here. We're going to have to move this yellow line down a little bit. You can see I'm trying to make an outline for the letter C to indicate that this is cargo. But we really don't have enough room here to do anything else unless we do it underneath. So there's one or two things that we can do here. We can either have the number down underneath, or we can get rid of the yellow on the sides to fix that problem and have just a little bit more room to work with. Yeah, because if we do that, then we can actually spell out C1. And then we just got to get rid of the yellow on the sides. Or even if we just did it on the row where it has the C. That's something you can do too. I'm just going to do gray on the sides. And for the 2, what we're going to end up having to do is we're going to have to move the C over 1 to the left to have just a little bit more room, because the 2 is going to be a little bit bigger. There's just no way around it. There's no way to build out the number 2 with only a 3 height restriction. But since we're doing that now, then we're going to have to make the C bigger. There's just no way around it. And that doesn't look bad. So we've got 4 blocks. We just have to, excuse me, we just have to do the same thing now on the left side, just so they match. The only reason they look off right now is because we don't have a yellow stripe on the right side. There we go. Now we're looking good. Yes, yeah, I think that looks really clean. And I think I wanted to try the blue there, just to see how that look, if it would look better than the yellow. But I think we're ultimately going to go back to what we had with the yellow for the entryway point. I think the yellow looks a little bit better. Yeah, that doesn't look bad. Looks does exactly what it needs to do. So really not a super complicated process just to get this in, but it takes a couple of steps for us to get here. But now that we're done with it, now we're just going to close it in. You can see I'm just going with my cut line with the half slabs, and we're just going to bring this all the way over. I need to fix that corner there. I can't believe I missed it. It's easiest to start our way from the bottom and work our way up. Because if we started from the top and worked our way down, it'll be a little bit hard to get down to the last couple of rows. There we go. Alright, now the only thing left to do is to close that in and then also fix this line right here. Yeah, I need to do the same thing on this side as well. What I'm doing here is I'm counting it out because I'm noticing an inconsistency. The room to the right, the size of it, isn't matching the room on the left. As you can see, we have 2 gray stripes on either side on the other on the other one, but on this one we only have 1. So we could either do one or two things. We could either bring the wall in on the right side, or we can bring the wall back on the left side. I'm opting for just bringing the wall back by 1. I mean, this isn't a huge deal. You don't necessarily have to make this change, but again, just to try to get everything to match up as much as we can, I'm going to be making this change here. And you can see, even though we're filling this in, all those windows that we established, those are still there. So this is just, on the other side of this wall is a filler space. If you wanted to, you could utilize this room for other things like bathrooms or rest area, whatever you want to do. You could easily do it. Again, is one of the things where I say that this ship will be customizable, because you'll have extra room to work with, to where you can customize it more so than what we've been able to do in the past with some of my other tutorials. So we got lucky there that these blocks is not on the lip of the ship, on the neck, that we're able to delete those. Anytime you're doing stuff like that though, I'd say delete the blocks very gingerly, just to make sure that if you are getting the pointer on the outside, that you can go back and close it in without making a mistake. What saved us here is that we had added in an extra layer to the neck, which allowed us to delete those blocks at this point. If we hadn't added in an extra layer of the neck much earlier on when we were working on the neck, we wouldn't have been able to do that. We would have been SOL. Now I can say this week I'm only going to be doing 3 videos. As far as my tutorials go, I've been trying to push out 4 where I can, but just this weekend I recorded these videos during Mother's Day weekend, and I just really I try to get some of my recordings done on Saturdays, and then I do the rest on Sundays. But this weekend I had a bunch of stuff going on, so I was really only able to get on Sunday to do these. So you're only going to be seeing me doing 3. But I still will be doing a review episode on Strange New Worlds episode 2 when that comes out. So there'll be 2 videos coming out on Wednesday. Now that could be something that might be slightly adjusted in the future. As of right now, I'm not going to mess with my schedule at all, but that's something that I am thinking about. But it all depends on how well the reviews go, if I do more of them, because I don't want to change my schedule up to accommodate for doing reviews, and then I stop doing them a month from now. So if the reviews keep doing the way that the first episode did, then maybe what I'll do is do Minecraft videos Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays, or something like that. And then on Wednesdays, do my Strange New Worlds review. That could be something, but I wouldn't put that in stone. That's something I still want to think about a little bit. I might end up just keeping it the way it is, to be honest with you, and just do videos Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Because when I do the Strange New Worlds review, I try to do that. I did that on a Wednesday, and that's when I'll do it because I want to get those out the day the episode drops. Um, so I might just end up having 2 videos drop that day, which really it's not a big deal. So that could very well just be a thing. All right, so now that we've got our wall moved back by 1, now we can fix this error here and have an extra line there. All that work just to do that. But you know what, I think it's worth it. Now, one thing that I haven't done, I think is going to end up being a thing here, is that I love having these windows here, but I don't. So I think what's probably going to happen at some point or another, I'm going to come back, fill in these windows just for the cargo area, and then put half slabs on each row where there's a full block, just to kind of smoothen it out a little bit and have like a nice transition point to where it's the doorway. Because that is the one thing right now that looks kind of out of place. I'm not really super fond of it. You can already see at this point, I'm already taking out one of the windows. I should just be taking out all of them just for right here, because it doesn't fit with the ship, at least in this area. But I think what I was trying to do is I was trying to keep as many windows as I possibly could without having to delete any. But it just, I don't think that's my one critique that I have right now with my cargo room, is those windows, and then adding in the half slabs. Once I do that, I think that this area will look fantastic. It's about as close as it's going to get to looking like the cargo room from Next Generation. All right, now we are back in our mall. We're moving into the second phase of today's episode. We've got one more thing to do after this, and I'm just adding in my roof here. You can see I'm going above our dark gray cut line here to add in our roof, and even to use a reference point here for our the corridor here. We're going 1 block above. So basically, where our ceiling is for our corridors, that's where we're putting in our ceiling for the mall. No, what I'm thinking it's going to happen with the mall at this point is that you're going to see me work on this a couple of more times here and there, but I don't think that we'll have the mall finished until we get towards the end. I think that will probably be one of the last things that I do. Well, it got really dark when I had that. We need to get some sea lanterns in here. No, because I had an idea in my mind what I wanted to do with it, but what ended up happening is that I realized that for one, it's going to be a little difficult to build out some shops here and there. So what I did was I started watching videos on YouTube of just people that made videos of malls, and I realized that I really wasn't going to be able to use any of that, because just the technology that they'd have and everything, like, it's kind of hard to describe, but basically a mall is almost redundant to have on a Galaxy class ship because you have replicators. So the only explanation that I have for getting around that is that the mall would kind of be like, even though they have replicators, like, think of it like jogging, for example. People don't have to do it, but they do it because they enjoy it. I think that's where the mall would come into play. Where, yeah, you can have anything that you could dream of replicated, but it's the point of going out in the mall and having a social experience when you're cooped up on a starship. It's something to walk around and do. So I think that's one of the reasons why I just ultimately decided, like, I'm going to keep this, because I feel like for that reason it would make sense on why the Galaxy class would probably have one, even though it wouldn't be a requirement in the least. But now with that same thought, I've had the problem of, well, how do I make all these shops when still they have a replicator? Do I make stalls and just have, merchandise and things like that? Or do I do like a hybrid of that where I have replicators, things that look like replicators, maybe active stands with what looks like there's merchandise there. So I'm still kind of trying to figure that out, because there's only a couple of things I even have left to do on this build at this point. I'm a little bit further along than you guys are. I'm actually a lot further along. But really where I'm at now in the tutorial, because I haven't worked on the ship now in a couple of weeks, because I don't know if you guys had the same issue, but I wasn't able to load into my Minecraft save for like 3 weeks. They put an update out, and anytime I try to load into the game, my game would crash, and I'd lose the save file. And luckily, I have like 100 saves of this thing, so I didn't lose anything, luckily. But I was just actually recently able to get back into it, but I've still, since I can even get into Minecraft, it's still kind of been, I haven't played just recently because I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Um, but I know what I have to do. It's just a matter of figuring out the way I want to go about it, because I have to finish up the mall, and then I have to do the science/medical deck, and then the registration, and then I think I might be done at that point. I might go back in the lower hall on the back end of engineering, and I have to fix up that area, really. But that's pretty much it. Um, I think once I get to that point, I'll be in pretty good shape. I think in this episode, also, as far as this recording session, I was getting ready to go in and start working on adding in those extra um, shuttle bay control rooms on the side here, but you can see that we can't delete outward. We can't basically go up anymore. So there's going to be 2 reasons why we're going to be making this change up here. Because again, I talked about this in the beginning of the episode, that our bridge right now is slightly too big. Also, want to make those changes to the shuttle bay control room. We don't have any extra room that we can do that with. So the easiest thing to do is to add extra layers to these 3 layers that we have right here of the ovals. That's the easiest way to go about it. So what I'm going to do to make things just a little bit easier on myself, and also to make sure that I have the same template in place, I'm going to go with the white concrete. Well, first I'm going to go and do my windows, and then I'm going to, on this row here, I'm going to go all the way around after that with the white concrete. We're also going to be adding another row to our white terracotta, going upward. Again, we're just doing this to save ourselves time of having to do it later on. So when we fill all this in, because you have to be able to think, when you're building in Minecraft, you have to be able to plan ahead, almost like playing chess, where you're thinking of what you're going to do ahead of time, and thinking the best way to go about it to accommodate that. So that's what we're doing right now. I know that I'm having to add additional layers here, so I'm prepping that by basically building out that next layer with the detail first, so that this way I can come back with the white terracotta and then fill all that in with the another row of half slabs or full blocks. Because look at it this way, we have the same design, we're just moving it up by 1. That's the best way I can explain it. So this might look a little bit funky right now, but when we come back in and we fill all this in, it'll look perfect. But again, we have to prep out for some of this, so this way we don't make too many mistakes here and get ourselves in a position where we make a big mistake and then we have to backtrack to try to fix it. I'll show you what I mean in a second. It's after we do this row of the white concrete going all the way around, we're actually going to go to the next row up and do the same thing, so that this way the two rows don't bleed into each other when we fill in the row that we're in right now, because by filling this in, it's going to come up to the same height that the next step is at. No, but you know, it's funny, like it's just working out that this happened when it did. And you know, if you think about this stuff and you think about things that you want to do, this might happen to you more times than not, where it's just going to work out in the way that I knew that my bridge was slightly too big, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And it wasn't until that I was working where we were just at when we were in the shuttle bay area where I was like, man, I needed to delete a row of the ceiling so I can bring it up by one so I can build out this grandiose shuttle bay control room. And that's when it dawned on me. I'm like, well, you know, if I had another level on the outside, that'll knock out two birds with one stone. This is why it's so imperative when you're building on here to take your time with stuff. It's not a rush, you know? The faster you rush, the less quality you're going to get out of your build. You know, it's just like with anything else, it's all about the amount of time that you're willing to put into something. You're going to get what you put into it. The more time you spend in planning something, the better it's going to come out. The more time you plan in spending, the more time you plan or spend in planning something, and then also the more time that you spend executing it, that's going to come out even better. Faster you go, the more problems you're going to have. That's why I always say it's not a relay race, it's a marathon. You know, because the Enterprise D, you know, I knew this going into it. You know, I say this all the time. I knew it going into it that this thing was going to be a monster. But I've literally dedicated just over a year of my time to building this thing out. You know, these changes are required to make this thing come out the way that it needs to come out. All right, now we're going to go up to the next row. We're going to add in another layer. Basically doing the same thing. We're prepping out to fill in all this stuff. Now remember, when this is done, this needs to look exactly the same. So there's going to have to be a row of half slabs coming up by one, going around the cut line of this. It's going to look, this is why I say that, you know, exactly what we have right now, it's going up by one block. So when you think about that, make it a little bit easier to anticipate what exactly you're going to have to do. Think about, we've already done this work, you've already figured it out. At this point, it's just a matter of basically rebuilding it one block higher. And like, I really wanted to be careful with this too, because I didn't want to add too many extra rows. And that's why I just started with one. I could have done maybe two. I think if I did three, that would have been a mistake. I think it would have started to make it way too tall, this area of the ship. Because that is something that I see too. Like a lot of times, like when I see people, they'll do the upper and bottom section of the saucer, whether, you know, it's a Galaxy class, Constitution class, or whatever, that they try to make that transition point, and by the time they're done, they've got a skyscraper on their hands in the very center because they didn't transition it right. So what we're going to do now between episodes, so that I'm not sitting here for an hour filling all this in, we're literally just going to fill all this in and literally move everything up by 1 row. So if you have to go back, and what you can do too to help yourselves out, before you do this, take a screenshot of it. This way you can see what it looks like before you add in this stuff. But when we come back in the next episode, all this will be filled in. This row will be filled in, and then this row will be filled in. And then I think what's going to end up happening once we have this row filled in, we're going to add another row up here as well. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap us up for this week. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. And if you have any questions or just dropping by to say, hey, be sure to drop a comment below or in Discord. Definitely love hearing from everybody. And of course, don't forget to catch my new Minecraft episodes dropping Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. You can also catch my new reviews of Star Trek Strange New Worlds dropping on Wednesdays. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for me today. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. I hope everybody has a happy and safe weekend. And I'll catch you in the next episode. And of course, what did you make of Minecraft today? Let me know in the comments section.